sign, feel free to come closer to the light. With 12 cars, we need to expedite our process through stop signs and stop lights. Fall back into line. Absolutely no one is to pass the lead tread car. Only have to say that because we had a couple idiots down on the last leg, so don't be those guys. As we drive out there, we're also going to be on the freeway. We're on the freeway. It's really tempting to block.
That's paper.
Nothing. Never. Oh,
Now,
you gotta pay for it.
there is a bag that we line it with and you use it.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Anyone want to sit on it for a photo? Everything comes out with us.
Is this how you do it?
Wow. In a very private location. So this is actually a BLM approved toilet. What do you guys tell them?
Ask Melissa.
You have two separate axles and a transfer case that allows the power to move around from wheel to wheel.
Okay. Anyone else? It's simply being able to get power to all four wheels, correct? So, to make the performance of the vehicle better, because in a two-wheel drive vehicle, you only have front or rear, power to the front or rear, and in icy situations, rain, off-road, those conditions will be potentially less successful. A simple way to put it is, about a week ago, I went over one of these mountains, hit snow, and within 5 minutes, I saw 3 cars off the road. So having a four-wheel drive system is going to make it perform that much better in those conditions. In that, so you mentioned the transfer case and the axles. So what diverts the power? Differentials, right?
Yeah.
So the power comes from the engine, goes into the transmission, into the transfer case, which then sends the power front and rear, and then it has to go out to the wheels. So those are your differentials. What's bad about a differential? There's some negatives.
It's big and it's heavy.
Power loss.
Okay. Power loss is we're kind of down that.
Gearing available, different gearing.
Different gearing. So.
Fuel economy.
The what?
If it's not engaged, fuel economy though, if you have differential.
Efficiency.
Yeah. So think about the differential. It's diverting the power, but it's also allowing the wheels side to side and the drive shafts front and rear to spin at different speeds. The reason we need that to happen is when we turn a corner, the tires on the outside have to spin faster than the ones on the inside because they're going a bigger distance. Same thing front and rear. So the differential allows you to do that, which is fantastic. What's bad about the differential is once a tire breaks traction, starts to spin, the differential says, well, that's easy. I'm going to give all the power to that wheel. And it's just going to keep spinning, and the one on the other side just sits still. But I thought we had four-wheel drive. So it gets a little complicated. The old Land Rovers could potentially sit there and have two tires spinning and two sitting still, and you're just sitting there even though you're in four-wheel drive. That's where we start to layer in traction control, because the vehicle will sense one tire spinning, one is not, and then we'll give power over to that one. The locking differentials will then also aid in that, so we actually truly can put power to all four wheels. That makes sense?
Yes.
These are permanent four-wheel drive, and they have the two-speed transfer case, so the high range and low range. Which vehicles do we currently have that do not offer low range? Discovery Sport. What are the two models that sometimes have it and sometimes don't?
Range Rover Sport.
And the Discovery.
This is great. Chatty group, I love it.
Are these all-wheel drive? There's a difference. So are four-wheel, all-wheel?
So
all-wheel drive?
these always have a two-speed transfer case in it, like the Range Rover, so we classify that as permanent four-wheel drive. The permanent part is great for a customer when you're explaining it to them because they don't have to think about it. They don't have to engage four-wheel drive. It's always in four-wheel drive. We then have the terrain response systems to then enhance that and make it that much better. But you're already starting ahead of the game because we're always in four-wheel drive. We're all clear on that?
Clear as mud.
Can I carry on for what you said for a second? We have all-wheel drive and we have four-wheel drive, right? Both systems attempt to get power to all four wheels. And the beauty of our all-wheel drive or permanent four-wheel drive systems is that we can maintain that grip in any condition. So you're driving on a normal road and it all of a sudden becomes slick, or you come around a corner and there's gravel. What's the difference between the all-wheel drive and a permanent four-wheel drive?
The front and old four-wheel drives, the front opposite rear would lock in here, or going to four-wheel drive, the rear one opposite would, unless you had a locking rear differential, then you'd have two in the back that could engage at certain speeds.
Okay.
All-wheel drive could be any or all wheels at the same time.
So
That's what
of our fleet of vehicles, which ones do we consider all-wheel drive? Discovery Sport, Evoque, Velar, right? Do you think those are meant for arduous off-road driving?
No, really.
Right? No, they're meant to get you through the snow to your cabin in the mountains. They're meant to take you down a fire road. So when I look at all-wheel drive versus permanent four-wheel drive, I look at what it's meant to do. A permanent four-wheel drive vehicle is meant to do hard, arduous off-roading. The suspension has more travel. The systems are more robust and stronger. So if you look across all automotive manufacturing now and you see Subarus that are all-wheel drive and even some of the Jag products that are all-wheel drive, it's meant to drive the power to all four wheels. Both systems essentially do the same thing. One is just meant for a harder use. It's meant to be durable enough to withstand that. The axle shafts are bigger, the components are larger to get you through those situations. So to simply put it, all-wheel drive is all-wheel, all-road capable. Permanent four-wheel drive is meant for more than that. It's meant to actually go out and do harder things.
What about low range?
Granny gear in the back.
Low and slow, right? So it's gonna slow. You still have your 8 speeds in your transmission. We'll go to low range, and now those gears are all much lower. So like a bike, someone mentioned a bike. So the gears on your back wheel is like your transmission. The gears up by your pedals is like a transfer case. With the low range, so when you're on a bike on flat ground, you're cruising. But what do you do when you get to the hill? You go down to that tiny gear by your pedals, and it's easier to pedal, but you go way slower. So you pedal fast and you just kind of move up. That's what we're going to do in these vehicles. That's what low range is. So it'll be easier to drive through the terrain, but it's at a slower speed. We're going to put it in low range when we get back in the vehicles, and we're going to stay in that all day long. We'll probably hit maybe 30 miles an hour on the off-road, which is actually for our off-road programs fairly fast, which is good. So on that note, we're going to talk about convoy procedure. Big group that split off. Please pay attention to the vehicle behind you. You need to make sure that they see where you're going. So if everyone makes sure the vehicle behind them follows them, then we'll all stay together. If for some reason you get spread out and you're not sure what to do, what should you do?
Call the radio.
Stop and call on the radio. Please don't pick one and just try to catch up, because if you're wrong, you and everyone behind you
Get lost.
is now going the wrong way.
Is there casinos that way?
Eventually.
Or Mexico.
Or Mexico.
I saw some helicopters.
So it's really important. Stay in the group. We do have some sections that are kind of long dirt road. There's a sandy wash. There's times where we can pick up the speed. There will be a lot of dust. So again, gauge the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. Think about safety. You should not be tailgating if you can't see, like thick fog. So just if you need some more space, back it up. When you come to those spots where you see a big bump coming up, just slow it down. Even if you're not sure what the vehicle in front of you did, it's not only you driving, but the 3 other passengers in your vehicle that you need to think about too. Safety and comfort. So keep them in mind as we drive. Anything from you? Anything else?
Still on the second leg.
We're going to keep the same driver just for simplicity. So that was the second on-road, but this is the first off-road. Feel free to just put that same person back in, is fine. Find low range. You have to be in neutral to get into low range. And then get the air suspension up.
I said good to know.
Good to know, yeah. In all our vehicles with the 2-speed transfer case, you need to be in neutral to shift from low to high and high to low.
You have to come to a complete stop.
Pretty much.
To put it into low range, yes. I'm going to leave it at that. And also, let's lift the vehicles up to off-road height. You do need to check your off-road height throughout the day. You will potentially be playing with it. You might accidentally bump it. You may end up lower. If you forget you're low and then we go through a big obstacle, you'll know quite quickly you're not in off-road height. Good?
Yeah.
So, number 1, drink water. 2, find low range, off-road height, and make sure you have all your people in your car, and we will get going.
Ready? And back to our cars.
That's pretty cool.
More everything slows down and less fun we get to have. That's
A
all.
little bit about our traction control system, right? So, how does the traction control system work? Say again? Fantastic. It works well. That's how it works. Yeah. So when we pull just a little further forward, I want you to notice something. Turn right just a little bit. That one.
You're the right.
Good. A little further forward. See that? All right, so what's happening here is the wheel loses grip, power is going down the path of least resistance, right? Because differentials are kind of lazy. So the power always wants to go down the path of least resistance. How do we know that wheel's spinning faster than the other 3?
Speed sensor.
Speed sensors, right? So we're using the wheel speed sensors for our ABS system. We can see that wheel doesn't have grip because it's spinning faster than the other one, so we're going to lightly apply the brakes to it. When we hold the brakes on this wheel, the power has to go to the other side. Now, the differential's following the next path of least resistance, which is the one that's not being held, and that's how our traction control system works. We can monitor this system all the way down to 1/4 of a mile per hour. Most manufacturers start looking at it around 4 miles an hour, which is one of the reasons that ours is so responsive and so quick. It's also barely noticeable as the driver in the car. You're not hearing a lot of noise going on there. You may hear a click or something like that when the solenoid pops, but the traction control system's going to kick in. So I'm gonna have you pull just a little further forward. Notice the slip in the grip. Turn right a little bit. Now straighten up. All right, stop there. Good.
Yeah, you nailed it.
So, in this position, with an open differential, we would have a limited opportunity to keep moving forward. So we got the tire off the ground, but now what you'll notice in the four-wheel drive information screens is our locked differentials. The center differential and the rear differential are going to be locked. Now, one of the benefits of a rear locking diff is that you don't have the delay. So traction control has to respond to a wheel slip, right? Is that proactive or reactive? Reactive. The locking diffs in the back of the car are proactive. So the second it saw a little slip up there, it locked the differential so we don't have slip back here. Because it's proactively engaged, we'll have a smoother transition through more arduous terrain. So the front end's gonna rely on the traction control system to get it through, but we're gonna push the back of the vehicle with the diff locked so that we don't have that delay as we go through. Now, if we turn our terrain response dial, we start to get some proactive measures that take place too. So if I left terrain response in normal mode, if I never changed it, would the vehicle make it through this pretty well?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, it would. But what it would do is respond or react to the situation. If I go ahead and select rock crawl in a situation like this, I'm telling the vehicle I'm driving over something that's more arduous, the vehicle is going to proactively be in that mode, right? So think about walking out on your back porch at your house. If it's covered in ice and you don't see it, what happens?
Slip.
You slip, you fall, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off. What do you do after that? You walk really carefully across the porch. But if you look out on your back porch and know that it's icy, what do? You
Walk
go
very
ahead and
carefully.
start walking cautiously as you go. Terrain response is the same way. If I never touch the button, it will react to anything that comes at it. But if I tell it what I'm about to do, it's ready for the action that we're getting involved in. Good? All right. So you're gonna keep the wheel nice and straight. You're just gonna pull forward slowly. Notice how little effort it takes to crawl out of this. Nicely done. From nice work. From the back here, come on down and around here. I want you to notice something in the back of the vehicle.
Back up.
Come on down to the bottom. I'll climb up here and point some stuff out. So, in redesigning Defender, we had certain things that we had to stay true to, right? So, aesthetically from the outside, obviously in the back end, the verticality of the back is really important, the fact that we have the tire on the back. But from an off-road perspective, we wanted really short overhangs. So you can see what we call our departure angle is from the bottom edge of the tire, the angle up through the back end of the vehicle. We have almost 40 degrees back here of departure angle, which is really impressive. The new suspension setup for Defender is now independent front and rear, right? So if you look under here, you see the large aluminum components towards the bottom. The lower control arms are attached to the air springs, so you can physically see the air springs here, well hidden and protected up high, so as we drive off-road, they don't get in the way of anything and we have plenty of clearance. The platform that this vehicle's built on is our aluminum architecture, right? The D7 platform. But the later version of the D7 platform is the D7X platform. And that platform was designed to be more rigid and more robust. Now we expect all of our vehicles to be really good and competent, both on and off-road. But for Defender, it needed to be stronger, it needed to be more robust. So we built the aluminum architecture even stronger than Range Rover and Range Rover Sport and Discovery for that reason. Because you're driving off-road, you're not hearing a lot of squeaks and rattles. The body doesn't twist. In a situation like that with the tire off the ground, you can physically open and close the doors, which sets the vehicle up for a lot of success off-road. It also helps us out on-road for a quiet nature inside the car and some refinement. Cool?